As we've seen in previous videos, adding a camshaft to your twin cam 88, 96, or 103 is an excellent way to add power. But as the old saying goes, there's no replacement for displacement. Now you can take your 96 or your 103 to 110 cubic inches, and you can do this whether you already have an aftermarket camshaft or whether your bike is basically bone stock. So today, guys, I'm going to show you some options out there for converting a 96 or a 103 to a 110, but there's different ways of going about it. Some of you may have already installed that aftermarket camshaft, or you may still have your stock cams. So we're going to look at some options that are going to work with your existing camshafts, aftermarket, or even stock, if you just want to convert to a 110. But bear in mind, converting to a 110 isn't going to net you a whole lot of gains. You will gain some, but not nearly as much with those stock cams. So before we get rolling today, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and be sure to drop a like at the end of the video if you enjoyed it. While I said 110 cubic inch, there is one company out there I want to start off with that can take a 96 or a 103 to a 107. Now, not a huge difference in displacement, but it does help keep the cost down a little bit, and plus these cylinders have a little something special on them that's kind of nice in the long run. So for the first big bore kit I wanted to show you guys today, this comes from Revolution Performance. This takes a 96 or a 103 to 107 cubic inch. Now this kit can be bolted on as is, or you could take it a little bit further and do some head work, or add your own choice of aftermarket camshaft, which is highly recommended with this kit. This is the Revolution Performance 107-inch bolt-on kit. It has 3.938-inch aluminum cylinders with a nickel cylinder carbide plated bores. Now you have two options as far as pistons go with this kit. You can get a forged 11.2 to 1 compression ratio with a dome top piston, or a flat top at a 10.2 to 1. It also comes with a Cometic 30 thousandths head gasket and a base gasket. Now while this kit's pretty basic, it can be bolted on as is or paired with your favorite cam, whether you want to go out and buy a new camshaft or you can use it with your existing camshaft. And this kit comes in at $1089.95. Now let's take a look and see what kind of power this kit can make. Now keep in mind, these numbers did not come from just a stock bolt-on. This motorcycle that was dynoed had a set of ported heads on it, an Andrews 67H cam, and a Vance & Hines 2-in-1. Now right from the get-go, this kit has a nice smooth linear curve all the way through. I mean, this thing doesn't dip or anything. It stays straight all the way up to the red line. We hit about a peak of 100 horsepower. It's about 100 flat. Looks like that's going to come in right about 6,000 RPMs where we're going to absolutely peak out, and then it starts to drop off. Now for torque's pretty decent on this. Comes up, wavers a little bit, but we're going to max out right at about 100 foot-pounds of torque. Now while Revolution isn't my favorite company on the list, it does produce decent power right at about 100 horsepower, which kind of seems a little bit lacking to me, because when we look at the cams that went into the 96 and the 103 from previous videos, we're getting that with just a cam swap. But if you do want to increase your displacement, it is a good place to start for $1089.95. But one good reason why I wanted to mention the Revolution kit was basically the Nicosil coating that is on the cylinder bores. The Nicosil coating helps it last longer and supposedly helps dissipate heat. So now from the basic 107 kit, let's move into some 110 kits. Now moving on from the Revolution 107, I want to show you guys the Fuel Moto 110 bolt-on kit. This is a very nice setup. Fuel Moto has done a lot when it comes to their big bore kits. They make some monster ones, but for the purpose of this video, I wanted to keep it simple, kind of for the everyday rider, and also to kind of help keep the cost down as far as upgrading your motorcycle. Now what Fuel Moto has done, they give you a lot of different options. You can purchase a basic kit, which is just the bolt-on pistons and the cylinders, and you can also pair it with your favorite cam, which if you give them a call, they can really help you narrow down the cam selection. And also, I have a ton of videos on the cams for the 96 and the 103, and all of those cams will essentially work with this kit. But let's go take a look at the Fuel Moto big bore kit, the 110 bolt-on, and see what it's got to offer us. Then we'll check out some power numbers on it. This is a complete kit from Fuel Moto. You get the Fuel Moto Extreme Duty cylinders with the 4-inch bore, a set of CP Carrillo pistons at 10.5 to 1 compression, a Wood Performance Night Prowler cam of your choice, Wood Performance Alpha Series directional lifters, Fuel Moto adjustable push rods, a complete gasket set with Torrington-style inner cam bearings. And now this complete kit that we're looking at right here will run you $1,698. Now Fuel Moto does recommend their Level B head porting services. Now the Level B head porting services are going to add $879 to the cost of this kit, which will bring you in at right about $2,577. And when we look at the dyno graph, you're going to see why they recommend that Level B head porting. Now what they've done is they took a 2016 Road Glide with a stock 103, true dual head pipes with slip-on mufflers, and just a stage 1 air cleaner. A very typical bike of what you're going to see on any corner out on the street. Now our horsepower came in just under 90, about 88, 89 horsepower. And it looks like we got about peak torque of about 98, 99 foot-pounds, just under 100, kind of in that range. This, of course, is the Fuel Moto 110 drop-on kit that we just saw with the Level B CNC heads, Wood TW777 cams, a clutch upgrade, the Jackpot 2.5 to 1 head pipe, and some high roller mufflers, and it's all tuned with a Dynojet Power Vision, which this brought our horsepower up to about 118, 119 horsepower. So just shy of the 120 mark. But look at the torque on this. The torque is massive. And this hits at about 3,500 RPM. We're about almost 140 foot-pounds of torque. I would say probably 135 to 139, kind of in that range. It's hard to read on the chart, but it is insane. Much better power numbers. That's a lot more impressive. That's worth about the $2,500 they're asking for this kit. And it's a complete kit too. I mean, you're going to get everything you need. Now, say you already have a camshaft that you like. You already have a Wood cam, an Andrews cam, something from S&S, maybe fueling. You already have a cam plate, new bearings. Your camshaft and valve train's already taken care of. Well, Fuel Moto has you covered. You can get this basic kit, which is just the pistons and the cylinders and a gasket set for $999. You can put that on, and if you already have ported heads, or you could send your heads to them and get them ported and sent back and put it all together, and you essentially have what they're offering in the kit. Now, whatever camshaft you choose, that's going to really determine basically where your power lands, but we'll get into more of that a little later in the video. Now, if your motorcycle is completely bone stock and you want a one-stop, one-shop, do-it-all kit, S&S makes one that I think you guys are really going to like. This kit comes with everything, including the cam plate, and you get a choice of whether you want to go with gear-driven cams or chain-driven cams. And if you're going to upgrade to gear-driven cams, now would be the time to do it, and it's very cost-effective with this kit. This is the S&S 110 Power Package. This will fit a 96 or a 103 twin cam. It comes with the 4-inch big bore bolt-on cylinders, 10.5 to 1 compression pistons, 585 easy start cams. This is going to eliminate you needing to get any compression releases. This comes with a high volume oil pump, their forged cam plate, and as I mentioned earlier, it includes an option to either go with upgraded cam chain tensioners with chain driven cams, or you can go with gear driven cams. It comes with a set of S&S's quickie adjustable push rods and push rod tubes, and you get a set of S&S premium tappet. Now, while this is one of the most expensive kits out there on my list today, I'm going to show you why on the dyno charts this thing runs pretty dang strong. Now, our stock motorcycles coming in at 72.95 horsepower with a peak torque of 90.91. Not terribly bad, but it could be a lot better. Now, after installing the S&S kit, we're looking at 101.39 horsepower. Now, while that isn't a lot of horsepower, it sure makes up for it in the torque. We're getting 118.92 foot-pounds of torque, and that comes in just over 3,500 RPM. Now, as I mentioned on this kit, they give you the option between gear-driven or chain-driven cams. You can get this kit with a set of chain-driven cams for $2,887.95. Now, if you want to upgrade to the gear-driven cams, it's going to come with everything you need for $2,992.95. Now, the S&S kit's not bad at all when it comes to torque. I feel like the horsepower is a little lacking, And a lot of that comes from just using the stock heads. Now, as we saw with the Fuel Moto, where it had the level B head porting, that makes a huge difference. And the S&S kit, now they do offer head porting services, so if you really want to get the most from that kit, I would highly recommend going with some head porting services. But what I like about the S&S kit is it's absolutely a complete kit. So if you have a bone stock motorcycle that you're wanting to upgrade, you're getting the cam plate, you're getting the high volume oil pump, and you also have the option to go with the gear-driven cams. And if you spec'd out and priced out some gear-driven cam sets, they're pretty pricey. So if you're doing this all at once, buying this entire kit, this would be the best time to go ahead and upgrade to the gear-driven cam set. So whether your bike is completely stock or you already have some modifications done, there are some options out there to help you get where you want to be. The only thing you need to do is just add the kit to what you already have existing in the bike and it'll all work together. Now, just make sure that the camshaft that you put in the bike is going to work with these higher compression ratios, because all of these kits add higher compression. So just double check and make sure the camshaft that you already have is going to work with those compression ratios. So what kit would you guys go with? If it's bone stock, would you go through and buy your own cam plate, your own cams, and then add a kit? Or would you go all out with it with the S&S? Which one did you prefer? The Fuel Moto, the S&S, or did you like the Revolution Performance kit? I think personally, if I'd already had a camshaft setup done, I would probably get the Fuel Moto kit and get some head porting done with it. If my bike was completely bone stock, I think I would probably go with the complete S&S kit and go ahead and upgrade to the gear-driven cams at that time. Of course, check your run out. You gotta be below 2000s to go with the gear-driven cams. So, in other words, don't order anything until you check your run out if you're looking to go to gear-driven cams. If your run out is above 2000s, then you'll have to go with the chain-driven cams, which is no big deal. You're getting a high volume oil pump, you're getting those good upgraded hydraulic tensioners, so no worries there. But anyhow, guys, if you're in the market for upgrading your 96 or your 103 to a 110, I really hope this helped you out and kind of got you pointed in the right direction and just gave you some ideas of what's out there on the market, because there's a lot of stuff out there beyond Screamin' Eagle. Anyhow, guys, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Hopefully you got to break away from the family stuff and got out and go ride a little bit, but if not, that's okay too. So guys, that's all I've got for you this week. I really appreciate you watching, and please don't forget to give the video a like if you found it informative and you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel. I come out with a lot of good videos on twin cams, Milwaukee 8s, and even Sportsters. But anyhow, guys, you guys stay safe on the streets, ride smart. I will catch you guys next week. Thanks for watching.